and welcome to the OMFL Jacksonville Jaguar review. I am your host, Mike Fleury, and in this episode, we'll be discussing Week 11 and the ongoing playoff push. This will act as our de facto midway point episode, a couple weeks late, but I decided to use the bye week as a chance to catch up on some things we might have missed. So, with that all said, let's jump into it. So, as I said, the only game to discuss is the Week 11 matchup against the Arizona Cardinals. Unfortunately, I won't be adding too many highlights into this video because I intend to make a Jacksonville Jaguars Minute, the highlight show, on that game. So I want to save most of the highlights for that. Justin Fields went 14 of 16. 278 yards, 3 touchdowns, and an interception. I am trying to remember the intercept. Oh, it was on a screen pass. I thought I'd get a little tricky and dump off a quick wide receiver screen, try to pick up a couple yards. I think he was in man, completely read it, jumped the route, almost took it back for a pick six. I think they ended up scoring a touchdown anyways, but regardless, 87% passing for Fields in this one. Really good game. 3 touchdowns is maybe the most he's had for the Jaguars so far this season. ETN had his best game of the year. 13 carries, 99 yards, and a touchdown. Hubbard 5 for 54 and a touchdown. I probably would have tried to get more rushing plays, but the offense was so efficient, for a change, that there wasn't really a lot of offensive plays in general. We ran, I think, total, including rushing plays, maybe 30 plays. Just to do the quickie math here, what's 16 plus 13, 5, 1, so that's 19 rushing plays total, 16 passing plays, 35 plays, if my math is good. And no sacks. So 35 plays total. More than what we usually would. We didn't pass a whole lot. Not much more than I would expect for my own team. So it was just a thing where we didn't get a lot of those late game rushes. And when we did, Hubbard broke a 36-yard touchdown run to put us up 7. And we had the ball with about 3 minutes left. I was looking to eat some clock, chew it as low as I could. He was using his timeouts already. But Hubbard broke one into the open field, and I had to do the quick thinking and put up 7 now, risk calamity later, or take the sure points. I took the points, gave us the lead. 99 yards is a very good game. You know, it's maybe not his best game. I shouldn't have said that. I think he had 100 and something in an earlier game. Still, 13 for 99 was really, it was a really positive sign for my rushing attack late in the season. We're hoping to keep that going. Brian Thomas Jr., 7 catches, 163 yards, 3 touchdowns. Had a couple plays where he caught passes and just broke it. His speed is a real game changer if you don't have the proper angle, especially if you're not using the player that has that angle. Then once you get into the open field, you can just outrun the CPU defenders, and that's basically what happened. Just able to use his speed to make any pursuit angle the CPU is going to use completely irrelevant. Colin Fredrickson had a really good game, 5 for 92. Only one catch that was particularly deep, 38-yard catch on, I think, somewhere in the third quarter. But he was very useful in the intermediate game, made all the catches he needed to make, didn't drop anything. It was exactly what I needed from him. I don't know if I mentioned Thomas Jr. had 3 touchdowns. If I didn't, there you go. And Michael Mayer caught 2 for 23. I really wish I would get him more involved. I say that every week, but Excuse me, I have the hiccups right now, so I'm trying to get through that. Defensively, good game for Jair Brown. Excuse me. We're just going to battle through. I'm going to try that again. Defensively, a good game for Jair Brown. 10 tackles, tackle for loss, a half a sack. We had, I think, 2 sacks in the game. Yep, no, more than that. Apparently, my user got a sack. I don't remember that. I might not have been using him at the time. It might have been red zone goal line situation where I sometimes will use the user the safety, and Hackett must have been on a blitz. Either way, I'll take it. Good game. He's, I believe, 5th in the Rookie of the Year, Defensive Rookie of the Year voting, so here's hoping I can maybe find a way to elevate him up, get a boost in XP. 3 tackles for loss from Hines Allen. Devon Hamilton had a really good game. A very quiet game for Mason Smith, who basically had zeros across the board. Now it makes me have to check no, he played 55 snaps. So just a very quiet game, which is unfortunate because I've put a lot of work into him, so I really like to see when he performs. And the lone interception for us in the game was Marshawn Lattimore. So here is where things sit in terms of the AFC playoff races. In the South, we are 6-5 behind 8-2 Tennessee. That's 2.5 games back with their game in hand. Obviously, we're on the bye this week. So what we would need is for us to win one more game than they win during the final 6 weeks, not involving our teams, in order to make our divisional games, the 2 we have, weeks 16 and 18, matter. If we win the same amount of games from here forward, then they will be 3 games above us, 9-2, and then so on and so forth. So even if we win both games, it wouldn't matter to the divisional records and standings. Now, as for the wild card, 8-2 Buffalo and 9-2 Miami are going to figure out their division. Whoever loses that will very likely end up the number 1 wild card seed. The number 2 wild card seed right now would be, I believe, Cincinnati, but we are right there at 6-5. There are 5-6 Baltimore, 5-5 Chargers, 5-5 Raiders. The 4-7 Colts have an opportunity to jump up into it, but they aren't there right now. And the 5-5 Patriots. What this all means, we're going to find out after this week very clearly where we sit. But as of right now, I believe we hold the 3rd wildcard spot. That said, that can change with a Chargers win, Raiders win, or maybe even a Patriots win. We haven't played the Patriots, so I don't know how, not this season anyway, so I don't know how that's going to affect anything. We play the Chargers in a couple weeks. That game will be basically a must-win, because we lost to Vegas earlier. If we end up in a 3-way tie, we would risk being eliminated due to head-to-head. Unless New England's in there with us, in which case the head-to-head doesn't matter and it becomes, I believe it becomes conference record after that. But with all the tiebreakers, it's really difficult to see where those end up. We still have 6 games left. I believe all 6 of them are in division. In conference. 4 of them are in division for us. So there's still a lot to be decided. To finish with 10 wins, which I've said in an earlier episode, 10 wins is the threshold whereby even if you don't make the playoffs, you can still feel like you had a really good season. I would need to go 4-2 to end it. Probably need to win the games remaining against Indy and Houston. One of the Chargers and trying to remember who my other opponent is. It is Denver next week. That's right, 6-4 Denver. And that's another part that can really throw a wrench into it. Is if we beat Denver, we put them possibly back into a deadlock with the division between them, the Raiders, and the Chargers, which creates its own tiebreaker, which then trickles down to the wild card tiebreakers. It's just there's too much in terms of possibilities. Cleveland's not exactly far away from the Bengals and Ravens, so if Cleveland gets bumped out of the top spot, we have a win over them. That changes the tiebreakers again, which would probably put us in second as opposed to third. There's a lot going on. It's too much to really break down right now, but we are right in the middle of the battle. I would say 4-2 is a goal that is reachable for us in the last 6 games. Hopefully wins over Indy and Houston. We split the Tennessee series, and then we just need one versus Denver or the Chargers. That is the hope. Indy's on kind of a pretty good run right now. Houston is sliding a bit, but they always give us a tough time. Tennessee were tight games last season, and this season they're even better. So there's still a lot left to be determined in terms of where the seedings will run come the end of the season. We will go over this a little more thoroughly with a lot more depth, and I'll try to break down what everything, all the tiebreaker scenarios and stuff, once we get near the end of the season. I am going to do an episode at the end of week, I think 15, I want to say, and then that should lead us into the final episode before I play my Week 18 game, is the plan. I don't know if it'll be posted before Week 18 games, but I'm generally going to try to push my last game as far back into the schedule as I can, for the sake of, one, content, and two, to really see how I like to know how things are breaking down around me, to know if I need to win, if I'm ahead and I can rest players. It's strategic. I want both Tennessee and myself to know how important that game is for real, so that we don't risk injuries if we don't need to. He doesn't, I don't, we both don't, depending on how it all breaks down. Also, it would be easier for me to bring out content and do all the tiebreakers and stuff. So that will be what I do week 18. So we'll have an episode probably sometime around then. That's still 6 weeks away. That's like 18 days. So that's the new year. That's after Christmas. So we'll worry about that when we get to it. I've decided to skip the statistics for this episode. It doesn't make sense to run statistics in week 11 and then do them again after week 18. We'll just do them all in week 18, do a season-ending episode, go through all the numbers then, see where we end up in the league. Probably do, as a season wrap-up, jump right into the off-season stuff, talk about what the team will need in free agency, the draft. The draft's not going to be a big thing for me, obviously, with having traded my first 2 picks, but I do have a couple extra picks in the third, so and obviously my fourth, so we'll figure that out. Probably go into the off season and talk about maybe potential trades or something going forward. Obviously, no specifics because nothing will have been worked out. I think I've decided, I don't mind telling you guys, I think I've decided to stop trading draft picks, at least my firsts, unless something comes up that's like the Fashanu trade and you just can't pass up on it. But I think I want to stop sending them out, start thinking about imports in the future. Next year's Jacksonville team's probably not going to be that good. I mean, they might get somebody like Travis Hunter, which would be really interesting to try to figure out how to use, but the team itself is going to hit a massive downgrade because of how bad they've been. So I want to start thinking about my imports and how to start figuring those out, and start planning ahead for the future, quarterback, corner, offensive line, etc. The only exception being, I think I'm going to start using my second round picks to buy my wide receiver too. I'm going to have to let go of Fredrickson after this year. He's just going to cost me too much. And I'm not sure I'm going to have the cash available to go into free agency and grab anybody. But veteran wide receivers, people like Diggs, if he didn't have X Factor, Devontae Adams, Michael Pittman Jr., veteran receivers in or close to decline tend to run between like 3 and 450, 3 and 500, which is basically a second round pick. So I might just try to keep some cap available, 9, 10 million available every season, and then trade my second round pick for whoever's available to become my number 2. I understand I could draft a number 2 wide receiver, but they do take time to develop. If you get somebody in the low 70s with a dev trait, you're still going to take it's going to take a season or two to develop, especially because I don't pass that much, so they're not going to get the massive XP boosts of just constantly throwing 10, 12, 15 passes their way. So it might just make more sense for me specifically to trade for veteran receivers on their last leg who are cheap, teams trying to get rid of them to make room, get extra picks. That might be where I end up for next season and beyond, but I want to start keeping my firsts because we got to worry about quarterback for next Madden. Trevor Lawrence, I think, is going to get the Daniel Jones treatment, probably be about a 76 overall with star development. He hasn't had a terrible season, but he hasn't had a good one, and he's never had a really good season, so I can see them knocking him down a bit. You're going to have to worry about the offensive line. They're getting old. And we'll see what they do to draft. I might not even have this team. We'll see what teams are available. If one of the teams, I like the Jags, so they're probably my number 1 pick. But if like Indy or Atlanta become available, 2 teams that are my favorite teams, AFC and NFC, that might necessitate a change. But that's all next season, off-season stuff. So we're just going to start making plans for the future and figure that out. So that's just going to wrap us up. We got to do some editing on this episode and get it posted. Hopefully today is Tuesday. I'm filming the last part of this Tuesday morning, I believe. Let me look up what day it is. It's the night shift worker in me. Yeah, it's Tuesday morning. So hopefully Tuesday night this goes up. Get this out there. So yeah, that about wraps things up for the OMFL Jacksonville Jaguars review. I am Mike Fleury, and as always, I will try to do better next time.